Today, we have with us the most beautiful Lori Montry. Lori is a trauma-informed transformational coach, author, speaker, and co-founder of the Greatest You Academy. In her programs and retreats, she uses principles of psychology, neuroscience, habit and behavior change, somatic experiencing therapy, and other significant modalities to support and guide community members towards deepening in consciousness and connect them to their own unique inner wisdom. Welcome to the summit. Thank you for being here, Lori.
Oh, Natalia, thank you for putting this on. This is so important. We all need this information out there and for including us. We're so excited to be part of this event.
Oh my goodness, my pleasure. My pleasure. It's a beautiful experience. So let's start a little bit with a little bit of context. So you teach that in order to have a healthy relationship with another person, we have to have a healthy relationship with self. So how does one build a healthy relationship with self? How that looks like a little bit.
Yeah, and what a beautiful topic, having a relationship with ourselves. So often I think we look outside to our relationship to provide us with a sense of worthiness, with a sense of lovability, with a sense of, if as long as this person is telling me I'm okay, then I'm okay, right? And we put all of that on another person. And, we can never really feel secure in the world if our sense of okayness rests in somebody else's hands, no matter who they are, whether they're providing all of those needs, and that almost never happens, right? But even if they are, we recognize how precarious it is. And also the other thing that happens is we're always worried about them, right? Who do I need to be in order for them to find me worthy, in order for them to feel that I'm lovable? And what that does is it really cuts us off from ourselves and our authenticity and the experience of being ourselves. And that is a situation in life where, we can't feel that sense of being firmly rooted in who we are and having that sense of safety and confidence in the world if someone else is in charge of whether I get to feel worthy, safe, lovable, all of these things. And so when we take that power back and we say, I get to be the one who decides if I'm worthy, if I'm lovable, if I'm safe, if I'm, who I get to be in the world. And from that place, we're no longer putting that on the other person.
Right.
So that leaves it open so that our relationship can just be about sharing love, sharing experiences, creating a life together instead of always pulling and, I need you to make me happy, to give me what I need, because so rarely does that work, right? It's and in our modern world, we see that. How many really good, strong relationships do you even know of out there? Well, you probably know of a lot because you're helping people create these kind of relationships, but you're the exception. Most of us are like, wow, all of my friends are divorced. The ones who aren't divorced, 10% of them are really happy. And it's because we don't have the relationship with ourselves first, which gives us the ability to have these big, bold, beautiful relationships with another.
Right. Yes, and I do see it with my peers.
Mm-hmm.
I do see it. I am a big runner, and I run with a lot of women in town, different people, because it's nice to change.
Yeah.
And I hear them, and it's heartbreaking for me because I can't really coach them because I am just the running buddy. So
Yeah.
yes, it's really, really heartbreaking to hear what they say, knowing that it doesn't have to be like that at all. At all. We can be in amazing relationships, and their own relationships with their husbands. It can change.
100%.
We train them to be in that way. And also, my experience all these years, and through my learning through women and my own experience, is that men, really high quality men, will not fall on the long run for a long period of time with a woman, for a woman that expects him to fulfill all her needs.
Yeah.
Too much for a man. It's too much for anybody. It's the opposite.
Right.
Too much to ask, of a person to fulfill all our needs. So that's beautiful. So what are the blocks, some of the blocks to having a healthy relationship with self that you have noticed through your experience?
Yeah. And there are a lot, right? And some of the big ones are, our own lack of understanding who we really are. Right? If we don't know who we are, how can we step into a relationship and create a relationship that's authentic to us if we don't know who we are authentically? So and so many people, we haven't really thought about that. Like, what do you mean I don't know myself? Right? I've been with myself every day for however many decades. And what does that mean that I don't know myself? And it's really about, we live so much of our lives outward. Who do I need to be? Right. And we start that from the time we're young. We do something, we get a look of displeasure from our caregivers, we modify our behavior. We have, we're watching TV. Oh, they said my teeth have to be perfectly white. Otherwise, I'm not okay. Got it. I need to be this. I need to be that. So we're collecting all of this data constantly. No one ever teaching us to question it and say, well, what do you think about that? How do you feel? It's just more and more we get into the groove of pleasing, the people around us, meeting the cultural norms. So it's easy actually to lose ourselves and to not know who we are. And then at that point, we step into a relationship and we don't even know what to ask for. We don't know what boundaries we may need. We don't know what, how much time we need with ourselves to connect. And so it's really easy, to lose ourselves even more inside a relationship. So that block of not really knowing who we are is huge. And then there are a lot of patterns that we've built just based on the relationships that we've had as young people, as kids. The relationship we have with our caregivers and other significant people in our lives as kids really teach us how to be in relationships. I have so many people, like, just for example, to give some context to what I'm talking about, had a call with a woman last week. She's working on the fact that in relationship with her mom, she always felt very responsible for her mom's feelings. When she was good and was acting in the way that her mom wanted her to, everything was fine. She was, oh, you're a nice daughter. Anytime she would act outside of that very narrow pathway or whatever, the mom would be upset. She would get in trouble. So she learned, okay, I'm in charge of my mom feeling okay. I have to, she's kind of a nervous person. She kind of, has some challenges. And so I have to be just like this in order to make her happy. I have that responsibility. So she moves into her love relationships in the same way. If the person shows any displeasure, I'll pivot myself so that I can make them happy. Right. And so it goes back to what I was saying before. And then pretty soon we have no idea what we want. We're so worried and caught up on, how can I make this person happy? So looking at the old patterns, right? People will, I'm sure they come to you with their patterns. They might say, I always fall for the fixer upper. Or I always fall for the person who, comes on strong and then, a week later is suddenly cold. And, when we explore that and we look at the relationships they had as kids, it's like, oh, that makes sense, right? That's a familiar situation that I've put myself in, I'm identifying that, oh, that's what love means, right? To have someone like,
So, I mean, love doesn't mean that. Love, I mean, I believe we are love, and intrinsically we are all loved and lovable and loving. And I mean, that's who we are. But what is your idea or your reflection on this?
yeah, you bring up a really good point because, and we were talking about how, there are so many people who are unhappy in their relationship. And the answer sometimes is that, maybe not the best match for one reason or another. But a lot of times it's less about the match than it is about the way we show up in relationship and the way that we claim what we need and the way we take back responsibility for our own happiness. So if she believes that she needs this man to be a certain way in order for her to be happy, then that's a limiting belief, right?
Yes,
That's something that is holding her back. She believes that, and so all of her actions are based on that. She's created a life based on that, when in reality she's in charge of her own happiness.
right,
And if she could find that for herself, and of course, there's some maneuvering here, because obviously when your love relationship is not thriving, right, there is a piece of your life that is out of balance, that's not where it can be, right? So it may not be 100% complete happiness because of that piece, but there's so much, really stepping back. If he was acting or being the way you wanted him to, what would your life look like? Okay, now go create that to the best of your ability for yourself, and
right,
take that responsibility away from him.
right,
And what so often happens is, without that responsibility, so much of the fighting, the day-to-day tension goes away. And
right,
then the man is looking at her, oh, she's mysterious a little bit now. Oh,
yeah,
isn't that interesting that she's doing that? And they start to see them from that standpoint of what it was that attracted them in the first place, the interesting things about them. And she knows, since she no longer is putting that heavy burden on him, he can be lighter and more carefree. And then at that point, when each person, and it's, in an ideal world, he would be doing the same. But at that point, when at least her, and I think a woman, because of our intuitive nature, because of our emotional intelligence, and that's not to say we're better, we just have different skills. And so, we work best together with that beautiful yin and yang balance.
right,
But a woman brings something really special to the relationship with her intuition and her emotional intelligence. And with that, she can do so much to create a whole new environment in which the real issues that might be going on underneath can be seen and addressed. Because right now it feels like everything is wrong and there's no hope so often, right? But if we can get to the place where she's resourced, where she's
right,
put back in connection with her brilliant goddess woman that she is, that woman knows how to fix a lot of relationships. Now, if he's just, really just not interested in being, a man of integrity and working on it, then that might be another situation. But I think the vast majority of the time, he is ready to step up. He just
yeah,
needs to understand how. And when she pays attention to herself and gets herself in that wise, resourced, incredible greatest self, like, we always refer to, she knows what to do. And that burden's not on him. And then they can look together at some of the things that could improve their communication style, their, the way they build again that love between themselves. But it just keeps going back to the woman being in her place of power and greatness.
right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes, yes. It's all about these women seeing that whatever they want is their responsibility.
Yeah.
Created.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes that feels really scary, because we're like, I haven't done that. I don't know what that looks like. It doesn't feel good when I give myself love. It doesn't feel the same as when someone else does, right? And it's only because it's new and it's different. We can learn to do that. And that's why your work is so valuable, to be showing women how to do that.
Love it, love it. So I know right now you're working on a very special project that touches me really close.
Yeah.
And it's about how to stop emotional eating. And
Mhm.
is that women and men, or it's just women that you help?
It is women and men.
Women and
Yeah, the vast majority of people that I work with are women. But men struggle with this issue as well. And it's the same underlying, foundational pieces. Yeah. Yeah.
That's and I love that you are doing that. I so
Yeah.
love it because as we talked before, I believe that if we don't feel good in our body, and mostly as women, I mean,
Hmm.
men deal with this a lot too. It's not that
Hmm.
we don't, but
Hmm.
as women, we feel with our body. We are so related to our body. We are so intimate with our body that if we don't feel good about our body, we don't feel like putting ourselves out there. We shame ourselves. We just make ourselves wrong. And it's, would you like to talk a little bit of how um yes, how to, like, if there is a viewer right now that is feeling like, she gained a little bit of weight and is not where, or a lot of weight, and she's not where
Hmm.
she wants to be with her body, or she hasn't been moving for a while and is feeling a little bit tight and, not as alive.
Yeah.
And so, could you please help a woman, like give her like one tip or the best piece of advice that you have for her to kind of get unstuck and
Yeah,
start moving forward?
absolutely. Yeah. And it is so important, and it really relates to the way we show up in relationship, right? And our relationship with food is, an important part of our relationship with ourselves, because that act of nourishment, right? And turning to food because we're overwhelmed, stressed, bored, don't know how to deal with big emotions, depressed, whatever it is, it's really an act of self-love. It's really an act of trying to provide for ourselves.
Oh, I have
And
never seen it like that.
yeah, it really is. I mean, as humans, we have certain needs. We have the need for love. We have the need for comfort and pleasure. We have the need to regulate our nervous systems.
Mhm.
Those are such basic fundamental needs. We all have them, and they will get met, right? We don't just push those needs away. We're going to find a way to meet them. And that way may be adaptive, right? Where it actually fills the need and nourishes us, or it may be maladaptive, such as, when we turn to food. And the reason why it's maladaptive is because it doesn't really solve the problem. It doesn't really meet the need. It's like a band-aid, it puts out the fire for a minute, but everything is still smoldering underneath and it will start again. And it's also maladaptive because the consequences are hard on our bodies, it's a whole list of things. It's our body, it's the extra weight, it's the inflammation, it is the spiritual heaviness that comes from that. And it's also hard, mentally and psychologically, because turning to the food is actually abandoning the need that we actually have. And so while it's a brilliant act, a lot of us develop these coping mechanisms when we were kids and we didn't have anything else. We didn't know any other way. So it's actually a really brilliant move. But now as adults, we get to look at it and say, how is it really serving me?
Mm.
And if it isn't serving you, and the answer to that, I've never heard someone say, yeah, it's great. It's, just what I want to be doing. Then we get to figure out, okay, now we can look at the need, the underlying need, and how
Right,
we can actually meet it.
right.
Because, so often the approach has been, okay, just don't do that, right?
Right.
But if
Willpower.
the need
Will,
is
and
there,
that
right.
doesn't work.
But if the need is there, we're not going to win. And that's why so many people have been trying so many different things for so long without success, because the only answer is to get to the actual need underneath.
Wow.
And so that's what my work is really about, is to help people understand what is the need actually about and how can I meet it.
Right.
And so, it's
Brilliant. Love
there's a
it.
lot of pieces, right? Because now we have habituated neurological pathways that say, when I feel this, I eat, right? So it's partly habit.
Like
It's
an addiction, it's the same way addictions work. Yeah.
yes, exactly. And that's a beautiful aspect of our brain. It's just efficiency seeking. It
Yeah.
will lead us down that quick and easy way, right? So we have the habits, we have our nervous system, because when our nervous system gets activated, one of the easiest, quickest regulators is food. So we have to look at the nervous system, and we also have to look at our emotions. How do I learn how to be with the difficult emotions if I'm not using food to cope, to push them down, to avoid feeling them? So, there's a lot of really important pieces to this work, but one of the most fundamental and foundational things that a person can do is just to start to get some awareness and ask the question, what do I want this food to do for me? I want it to calm me. I want it to be my friend. I want it to provide me a sense of entertainment. I want it to calm me down. So once you can start to understand that better, you can see what the need is. And then you can think about the ways to be able to meet that need in a way that's actually, that's adaptive, that meets the need and doesn't leave us with, the shame and the feeling horrible in our bodies and all the other pieces. So while it's way beyond the scope of our short time today, perhaps I could add that as one of the free gifts, is the video series that I put
Yes,
out, just to help people understand, what is this all about? Why do I know what I want to do, but I keep doing this instead?
that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about the gift.
Yeah, so it's a 3-part video series that just explores, that helps us understand these things that I'm talking about. You eat emotionally because, number one, you have habituated pathways, and it's just a matter of your brain saying, oh, in this situation, I know what to do. And we're on autopilot. It's
So
like we
which
wake up later
modality
and we're like, wait, what just happened? I did what? And the other piece being the nervous system. When our nervous system is dysregulated, when we're activated, either because of past traumas or because of accumulated stress, so many of us are living in that overwhelmed place.
Yeah.
And food regulates our nervous system. So understanding more about that. And then that third piece, understanding, how do I sit with these emotions and not run away from them? And that's a beautiful skill to learn. And the thing is, doing this work, it changes your relationship with food entirely, because you don't need food anymore, because you're meeting the need in other ways. But you can't do that work without learning who you are, without becoming aware of your limiting thought patterns and overcoming them, without being able to meet your needs. So it's a whole transformation.
Everything is going to show up to
Yeah.
self-love.
Yeah. So it's really, we started out this interview by talking about how important it is to be authentic, to know yourself and provide for yourself. The work to overcome emotional eating is actually the same work that you do to figure out who you are and how to meet your needs. So it's really beautiful. And I love how it kind of came back to, our conversation. It all comes down to, knowing yourself and being able to meet your needs, and your relationships improve, your health improves, your weight, improves, everything.
This is beautiful. I just feel so blessed that you joined us. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I just feel so good to be doing this. It's so
Important.
purposeful, and it's so important.
It really is.
Yeah,
I can't wait for the whole series, and to hear from all of the other incredible guests that you've put together. And yeah, I'm just honored to be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's going to be epic. This is my second summit, and the first one was amazing. I got so much feedback of how much it helped. Some women were like, "Oh, I watched that interview 5 times," and
I love it.
good. And this time, of course, I am type A, always trying to do better. So I kind of am trying to make it even better and better and better. So it's going to be,
Lucky us.
you're going to be surrounded by amazing world-class experts, just
Yeah,
like you are. And that's the intention. So thank you so much.
absolutely. Thank you.